It's just a paper loss. You're almost back where you were a few years ago. The markets always go up over time. These are all ploys that brokers use to keep your investments at risk so they can line their pockets with your hard-earned money while your portfolio stays in the crosshairs of volatility. If those phrases are all too familiar to you, it's time that you contacted your local trusted advisor for a second opinion. Call the Presley Group to schedule your no-cost consultation. The number is 791-5773. 791-5773. Take action today by calling to get the honest-to-goodness truth about where your retirement portfolio may be heading. Christy Smith and her team at the Presley Group are always eager to help you get on the path of your successful retirement. That number once more is 791-5773 or 800-791-5773. Call today and set up a free consultation with Christy or Matt.
Good morning and welcome to Your Money Matters, brought to you by the Presley Group. I'm Christy Smith, joined in studio with my co-host Toni Shinabery. Good morning.
Good morning, Christy.
Wow, I'm just in such a great mood today. I don't know why. I'm about to fall out the chair because I'm kind of dancing to our music. I kind of let you know I'm going a little crazy this morning. But I've been thinking about this, and we always try to think about what we're going to talk about on the show a day or two before we get here, and this happened all of a sudden, so I didn't get to really plan it. But I wanted to talk about. Have you seen the show called Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader?
I love it.
Well, it's funny because we actually watched that show, and we probably watched it maybe 10, 15 times. We get so aggravated with it because we didn't know the answers that we turn it off, And I have a fifth grader. Presley is she's 10 years old, and she's in fifth grade at Amite Christian School. And it's so funny to me because really we tend as adults to forget how smart they really are.
Well, yes.
And by the time they get in fifth grade. And so my question for you this morning is, are you smarter than a fifth grader? Now, the other day, I'm driving in the car. Presley rides horses. And so naturally, we have to go to horse riding lessons twice a week. And then we ride on the weekend. It's like we spend half of our time in the car. And she had a friend with her. And we were talking about horse riding lessons and, sick horses and which horses were coming back next week. Cause you always monitor that. If you're in competition, you want to know who your competition is going to be. And so we're talking about that and, everything's going smooth. And then all of a sudden her friend says, just like out of nowhere, she says, income taxes are going up. And I mean, it was like, it just stunned me, and then she said, you do know that Obama is going to raise taxes. It's true. I'm not kidding you, Miss Christy. And I got to tell you, Toni, I nearly drove off the road. I mean, it was one of those moments where you just lose your composure.
Well, you know what they're talking about at her house.
As I regained control of the car, I realized that this is exactly what is on everyone's mind right now. Everybody knows that higher taxes are just around the corner.
Yes.
Even a fifth grader.
Yes.
I've talked on my show many times about taxes and, where we think things are going. But I think there really seems to be a shift in what people are thinking lately. I think we're starting to get a clearer picture, don't you?
I do. And that even if they're not talking about it at her house, they're probably talking about it in the fifth grade class where, they're required to learn about current events and talk about current events in class. So I'm sure that's where that's coming from. And besides that, you can't say anything in your house that doesn't get repeated. So you got to be real careful about that.
Well, I think people are putting two and two together and that our national debt is spiraling out of control. And eventually, someday, and probably someday very soon,
unfortunately,
we're going to have to pay for it. And that someone is going to be you and me.
Yes.
I mean, we're going to have to pay the piper sooner or later.
And anyone else who works.
And it's going to come in the form of higher taxes. I mean, there's just really no other way. Now, we've all heard the old adage time and time again, it's not what you make, but it's what you keep. But I really don't think that people think about paying taxes. They don't think about developing smart tax strategies that can help them lower their taxes. And if they do think about it, guess when they think about it, Toni?
When they go meet with their tax preparer?
On or about April 15th.
Exactly.
And that's when it really hurts. I mean, that's when the sting comes in. And, you get mad at yourself at that point because you think, why didn't I do something about it? The problem is that when you're doing your taxes on or around April 15th, it's that everything's kind of in the rear view mirror. When you're driving, everything's in the rear view mirror. But when you're planning for retirement, you need to be looking forward into the front windshield,
yes.
Not backwards. And so, if we can look at strategies early on, we can try to develop a plan that will keep you looking forward into the front windshield.
Actually, I found in my own personal life that as I got older, I concentrated more on becoming tax savvy.
Right.
So you're pretty much talking about people who are younger than 50 if they're looking in the rearview mirror, because it's not alive for them yet. Yeah. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but it doesn't live. It's a concept, but they don't own it yet.
Well, what if I told you, Toni, that without a plan, you're going to pay retail price for everything?
Oh, you are.
And with a plan, I'm going to pay wholesale price. Which plan would you like? I personally have a policy not to let my friends pay full retail for anything. I'm always passing along, good advice and where their sales on things. But, I'm really not trying to scare our listeners. I'm just trying to let you know that there are strategies out there that can certainly help you. And we've helped many clients, by showing them tax-free retirement strategies. Now, later in the show, we're going to have a special guest. He's the author of the best-selling book, Tax-Free Retirement. He's got a brand new book out called The Retirement Miracle. And Patrick Kelly really talks about how important it is for us to work on building a tax-free retirement. Now, for those of you who are already retired, and I find we have many of our clients come to us when they're right on the verge of retirement, you might be thinking, well, those strategies aren't available. Wait a minute, let's back up. Patrick has strategies for you too. And what if you're over 70 and a half and you're forced to take money out of your IRA only because the government wants their tax money paid to them? Patrick has strategies to help you. He calls it an IRA rescue, so that you can maximize the money you're having to take out and really create a legacy to pass on wealth. We're going to be back with more of Your Money Matters. We've got Patrick Kelly joining us in our next segment. If you'd like to schedule a complimentary visit to come in and meet with either me or Matt, give our office a call, 791-5773, 791-5773. For those of you who call today to schedule your complimentary visit, we're going to give you a free copy of Patrick Kelly's book, The Retirement Miracle. We'll be back in just a few minutes with more of Your Money Matters.
There are plenty of people who believe a safe retirement is too good to be true, that there's no safe place for you to go with your money. Even your very own government will try to tax it right out from under your nose. But you've just tuned in to information that can save your retirement nest egg. It's Your Money Matters, featuring one of America's top retirement specialists, Christy Smith with the Presley Group. She can teach you how to retire without all of the risk. Back to Your Money Matters.
Good morning and welcome to Your Money Matters, brought to you by the Presley Group. I'm your host, Christy Smith, joined in studio with my co-host, Toni Shinabery. Good morning.
Good morning.
Boy, we have had a great first segment this morning. We're talking about, are you smarter than a fifth grader? You know, when we look at the fact that...
And some of us aren't.
Yeah, believe it or not, it's hard to believe that. But I have a fifth grader, and some of the things she comes home with are mind-boggling to me. But, you know, this morning we're joined with a special guest, as promised, Patrick Kelly. Patrick Kelly is the author of the best-selling book, Tax-Free Retirement and the Retirement Miracle. Good morning, Patrick.
Good morning. Thank you.
You know, earlier in our segments, we were debating on a little fun topic that's called "Are you smarter than a fifth grader?" And it's funny because I was riding in the car about a week ago, and I had a friend of my daughter's in the car with me who's a fifth grader. And out the clear blue, you know, we've been talking about horse riding. You know, my daughter's riding horses, and that's the main topic in the car. We're talking about horse riding. All of a sudden, her friend belts out, "You know, income taxes are going up." And I looked at him. I did exactly what you're doing right now. I started cracking up laughing. I was really amazed that this fifth grader would say, "You know, taxes are going up." And it really got me thinking. You know, it made me realize that this is really what is, you know, on everybody's mind right now.
And their kids hear them talking about it.
Yes.
You know, it's funny what comes out of mouth fifth graders. I, too, have a fifth grader. As a matter of fact, was just at a little school program they were doing, and it is a fun age because they're right in that in-between age of, you know, little kid and sort of more grown-up kid, and they're listening to the parents and the things that come out of their mouth. I want to take that little fifth grade friend of your daughter's on the road with me and just put her up front and just have her tell the groups what we all know to be true.
Well, you know what? She sounded real matter of fact about it, and it was so funny because, you know, they go to a little small Christian school. There's about 10 kids in the class, and you know, you just don't think they know about all this stuff. But I think right now with our government and in the amount of debt that we're in, we're facing a presidential election. We've got so many things going on that they hear it on the news, and we think they're not listening.
They are.
But in fact, they are.
Indeed. You know, Christy, since we spoke last on your show, which I just have fond memories and remember very well.
Thank you.
Second book that you mentioned here in our intro came out called The Retirement Miracle. And in that book, on page 80, and I know you're going to make this available to listeners who, you know, call in and connect with your office, but I want to just start maybe our time together and reference something that a lot of your listeners may not know, and yet this fifth grader either intuitively knew or heard her, probably more than likely overheard her parents talking. But there's a graph on there of the history of the top tax rate in this country back to 1913. So really the last 100 years. And when the listeners take a look at this page, they're going to be shocked because there's a real disconnect for me, and that is this. Since my first book came out in 2007, the official national debt was $9 trillion. It's now $15 trillion. Think about that. That's a $6 trillion gain. That's like a 60% growth of our national debt in the last 5 years. A debt that took more than 250 years to, you know, accumulate. And yet if you look at this graph of this top tax rate, our tax rates right now are the lowest they've been, other than one little blip during the Depression, the lowest they've been in the last 100 years. Now, isn't that a disconnect? How can our tax rates... Now, by the way, for the listeners listening, I'm not for higher taxes. Matter of fact, the whole premise is let's be smart about how we manage our money, smart about paying less tax.
Exactly.
But the reality of it is, taxes, if the debt is skyrocketing out of control, and our tax rates are the lowest they've ever been in the last 100 years. That is a significant disconnect.
Well, I can remember probably a year ago, Matt and I had the opportunity to go and listen to David Walker. Mm-hmm. And in fact, that was it was eye-opening, to say the least.
Yeah.
When you can really hear the numbers, and I think that what's happening, Patrick, is that there's so much uncertainty. People really just don't know where to turn right now. They don't know. Right. They don't know, is the strategy today supposed to be lower taxes? They don't know if the strategy is supposed to be protect their money. There's a lot of concerns out there right now. But I think that building a tax-free retirement is certainly a great option for all of us.
Mm-hmm. It is. Matter of fact, how important, Mr. Walker, I quote him in the first chapter of my new book. Here are 4 quotes. By the way, for people who don't know who David Walker is, he was the former Comptroller General of the United States. In other words, he was the land's highest CPA. He had to sign off on the budget that was presented to America, and he resigned a number of years ago saying, I can no longer put my name to this budget because I believe it to be nothing but a bunch of lies to the American people. Here are 4 quotes from Mr. Walker. Wow. If our country were a company, we would be out of business. Quote 2, current federal financial reporting and budgeting provides policymakers and the public with an incomplete and even misleading picture. Quote 3, as a federal official who signs the audit report in the government's financial statements, it is apparent that our government's financial condition is far worse than advertised. And quote 4, we have been diagnosed with a fiscal cancer.
Oh, wow. My gosh.
That is the guy who is the country's public official as a CPA. So, Christy, back to your point, this whole idea of a tax-free retirement, first of all, people are like, man, that'd be great if that existed, but it doesn't. So, why talk about it? I mean, that's one of the comments I've gotten from my book's title, Tax-Free Retirement. When anything else is like, wow, I wish that were possible.
Well, I think more people... I'm sorry, Patrick. I just wanted to say that I think so many people now are trained to think pre-tax, pre-tax.
That's right. As a matter of fact, that's what's been drilled into their brain from the very, very beginning. Fund your 401k. Even their accountants are saying, hey, dump as much money into your 401k or other tax-qualified plan as possible because it will save you tax. But the reality, folks, who are listening out there, it does not save you tax. It only delays tax.
Yeah, defers it. That's it.
And let me ask you, Christy, have you ever seen a problem that gets better by putting it off?
No. No.
No. I mean, think about it. If you had a leaky pipe in the wall of your house, you'd probably want to fix that now instead of waiting for 20 years, because in 20 years, if you let that pipe continue to leak, your house is going to fall down.
But, Patrick, one of the things that I want to mention to you, because I know that you've been spreading this message for quite a long time. A couple of years ago, when we were really pushing Roth IRA conversions, I was working with a lady that met with her CPA, and her CPA told her absolutely not. Even though we were going to do small, slow but sure partial conversions, wouldn't have hurt her income tax bracket, the CPA convinced her that it was better for her to have that small deduction now. And so I think even your CPAs, accountants out there, they don't understand tax-free. They only understand pre-tax, which is really why, so many don't understand it. They don't know about these strategies.
Clearly. I spoke to a group of about 110 top CPAs in Scottsdale, Arizona about a year and a half ago. It was a CE thing for them, and I shared the concept that, yes, it's possible to build a retirement income that you can access tax-free down the road. At the end of the day, it was about a 3-hour session. At the end of that time, I asked the CPAs, how many of you knew of this strategy before you came to the meeting today? And not one single hand went up.
I believe you, because I know it from just working with clients. But Patrick, we're going to have to take a quick break.
You bet.
When we come back, we're going to really dig into, how can you build a tax-free retirement. But if you would like to schedule a one-on-one consultation to come in and meet with me or Matt, We have Patrick's books in the office. We'd be glad to give you a free copy of The Retirement Miracle, which is really going to enlighten you and possibly change your retirement years. Our number is 791-5773. That's our office in Denham Springs. Again, 791-5773. Or you can go to our website. A lot of great information on our website. That website is safemoneyplan.net. safemoneyplan.net. When we come back, Patrick is going to explain how to build a tax-free retirement.
And welcome back to Your Money Matters, your weekly peek inside the complex financial world. You listen to the show so you can retire with peace of mind. And what better person to tell you about that than Christy Smith, president of the Presley Group. Christy is an expert at helping you plan for a successful retirement. Christy teaches her clients how to position their retirement money to avoid losses due to stock market conditions. She has helped hundreds of clients achieve their retirement goals, and she can help you. Good morning, Christy.
Good morning. Welcome back. We're excited to be here with you. Are you smarter than a fifth grader? Wow, that sounds like an easy question to answer, doesn't it?
Well, of course I am.
I don't know. I might question you on that, Toni. Let me put my fifth grader in the car with you for a couple of days and let's see. This morning we are joined with a special guest, Patrick Kelly, and Patrick he's been spending some time with us discussing why it's important to build a tax-free retirement. Patrick, your first book was entitled Tax-Free Retirement, and your new book is titled The Retirement Miracle. Can you explain how this works?
I can, and just keeping with the theme of are you smarter than a fifth grader, I'm going to modify that and say, are you smarter than a seventh grader? Because I have a story, Christy, since we spoke last. I was in the car with my son 2 years ago. He's ninth grader now, seventh grader at the time, and we were driving home. My book had been out, my first book, for about 4 years, and we're just driving quietly in the car after a basketball practice or something. We stop at a light, and he turns and looks at me and goes, Dad, so what does your first book talk, or what is your book? I only had one time. What does your book talk about anyway? And I looked at him, and I said these exact words. I go, dude, you're 13, read it. And he looked at me as only a 13-year-old son could, and he goes, Dad, I'm not going to read your book. Summarize it for me.
Give me the Cliff Notes.
Exactly. So I thought, and part of me thought, do I do it or do I not? But I did, and I'm glad I did, because what came out of his mouth makes me realize that many of us are too smart for our own good because we're not as smart as a seventh grader. So what I said to him is, I said, Brett, what my book says, and this is how we're going to dig into what this really looks like and how your listeners can do this exact thing. I said, Brett, what my book talks about is how people can earn money in their paycheck today, how they can pay tax on it, and then put, what's left over, save money and put it somewhere where it's going to grow without taxation, and then be able to get at that money later without having to pay tax on it. And he looked at me, and in his exact words, he said, so let me get this straight. If I earned $1 and I had to pay 10 cents in tax now, and of course I chuckled because he doesn't quite understand the tax code, but he said I could put that 90 cents away somewhere, let it grow to $10, and then be able to access all $10 without having to pay tax. And I looked at him and I said, son, you just explained that better than, most of the advisors that I train. And he looked at me in as sincere as possible. He said, Dad, who in their right mind wouldn't do that?
Absolutely.
Out of the mouths of babes.
I know it. Isn't that true? And so what your listeners need to understand is there is a way. It's not new. It's not a tax loophole. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. There's a strategy that's been around for 50-plus years where they can take money, that after-tax money, because here's the reality, folks, you need to understand, your listeners out there, there's no way to escape the tax man. You can delay it, you can pay it now, but either way, you're going to pay it. But if you look at the numbers, if you run the numbers for yourself, paying it now instead of paying it later is a winning proposition. And there's a way that you can, your listeners out there, can take the money that they're earning in their paycheck that's been taxed, put it away somewhere, let it grow without taxation, and then be able to access it later if they do it properly. It's easy to do, but Christy, they've got to work with someone like yourself who understands how to walk them through this process, but it's open to virtually everybody, and be able to live on money later that will never show up on a tax form that they can access in retirement without paying tax on it, regardless of whether tax rates stay the same or go to 50% or go to 60%, or like they did back in 1944 and 45, we're at 94%.
Right.
And I think we can all assume taxes are going to probably go up in the future. I don't know any way to avoid it, and that makes this strategy even more important, Patrick.
Oh, indeed it does. I mean, if tax rates are going up, is it better to pay it now or pay it later?
Well, pay it now would be the answer to that.
Exactly. It's like the leaky pipe in the wall. It's always better
Do it now.
to fix a problem today. And Christy, I know you're making my second book available, and I would encourage them. We're just going to barely scratch the surface. Let your listeners know that this does exist, that they can take advantage of this. This is open to them. It's not something they have to be wealthy to do. But if they call in and connect with you and get a copy of my book, my newest book will walk them through very detailed what this looks like, how it's used, how they can use it for themselves. But then, again, as always, I say, just because each person's needs are unique to them, they need to connect with someone who can walk them through the process to figure out what's best for them.
And I do have to say, Patrick, that after reading both of your books, I think what makes your books different is that they are easy to read. You know, you write them so that someone who is not a financial expert can at least understand the concept and know that they have to seek guidance to implement this plan. They can understand the importance of it. They can see the benefit of it. But I do have to give you credit for that because it's the language that you use.
Well, thank you. And I appreciate you recognizing that. The reality of it is this book isn't intended to walk them all the way through the process, but just like you said, to really introduce them to a concept that they can see whether it's a good fit or not for them, whether they have interest. And then those that do have interest can take it the next step and do what they really should do, is they need to hire an expert.
Now, Patrick, who would you say this strategy helps best?
Well, there's a couple different strategies, Christy. The one that my first book talks about, and a good portion of my second book, this tax-free retirement concept, really is designed for those who are still in the saving years of their lives, meaning they're still working, they're putting money away, they have not saved all that they plan to save for retirement. And I would say probably to be best utilized 10, 15 years, maybe even away to retirement. So really the 50 and under crowd. And go ahead.
Okay, Patrick, I'm sorry. So what if you've already saved?
You know, and that's chapter 16 of my new book, because what I realized is there's two distinct groups, in the population, one that is currently saving and the other who's already saved. And for that group, there's another strategy that my book talks about. Let's talk briefly. I think it's important on the radio to talk product a little bit, just so people know what we're talking about. The first strategy, when I say this, people are going to, if they're driving, they're going to come, screech and halt, or hold on to your seats here, folks. Keep your eyes on the road.
Tends to be a bad word.
But the product and I did this as a very sincere search about 15 years ago for myself. I wanted to find the best place that I could accumulate long-term wealth, and what I came up with was life insurance. Not all life insurance, but a certain type of life insurance, a type of product called indexed universal life insurance. And what this product allows individuals to do is to not buy their life insurance backwards like most people do, which is buying the largest amount of death benefit for the smallest amount of money. What this can do is allow them to buy the appropriate amount, but then maximize, overfund, overstuff what they put into their policy, and really it allows people to contribute money into a pot, which we call a cash value, that is their money. They can access it when they want. There's not the strings attached like they have with a tax-qualified plan. It's no different than putting it into many other types of places where they would save their money. And folks, don't let life insurance be a bad word. Matter of fact, one of my chapters in my new book is, but I thought life insurance was a bad investment, because people hear that by the talking heads on TV and other places, the supposed experts. The reality is, if they do the math, if they run the numbers themselves, which I encourage them to do, for those in their saving years, life insurance can be one of the most powerful, long-term, wealth-building strategies available. And again, that's to
And can
the
they
saver.
access their money during that time?
Absolutely. When they want, as they want, how they want, unlike a tax-qualified plan. But really, your question, Toni, was to, what if someone's already saved?
Yes.
And the same strategy or a similar strategy, there's something else called an indexed annuity. And let me talk about what this, I forgot to mention in the life piece, what the index portion means. It's pretty remarkable. And that is where people are able to put their money in a place that is going to be tied to the performance of the stock market, whichever one they might happen to pick. There are different indexes, as they're called. And if the index goes up, their account value will go up proportionally. But if the index or the stock market goes down, they are guaranteed, contractually guaranteed, that their account will never lose money to a down stock market. And not only do they get to keep the gains or realize the gains when the market's up, those gains become new locked-in amounts that they can never lose going forward. It's an incredibly powerful strategy. And for those in their savings years, I think the life insurance strategy is probably the more powerful of the two. But for those who have already saved money into their IRA, 401k, that want to have safe money that will grow but can never go down,
Yes.
they can take those 401k, those IRA monies, and roll it without any tax penalty into this index annuity, which will give them still the same tax laws that are on their IRA or 401k, but with the guarantee that they'll never have to go through a down year ever again.
And that is what my husband and I did.
Patrick, when I think about life insurance, of course, before I met you, when I thought about life insurance, I would think of the days where you would hear someone say they had a variable life, universal life policy and they lost money in it. And so, it's really a matter of re-educating ourselves as to what's out there and what's available, because life insurance policies have changed so much. I mean, a fixed indexed annuity is different than a variable annuity, just like a indexed life insurance policy is totally different than a variable policy.
Very well said, Christy. It's absolutely true. In my book, I think I use the line, "This ain't your daddy's life insurance policy."
Think I read your book, Patrick?
Yeah.
You must have, huh?
It really is a different thing. And I think what happens, there were problems with some of the past policies, the past contracts. I believe that the industry got it right the third time. And what I encourage your listeners to do, for all of their financial business, don't take my word for it. Don't take anyone's word for it. Do their own homework. Run the numbers. Take a look at reality. That's what I did 15 years ago, and how I came across this is I was tired of listening to people who said they knew what they were talking about only to lose my money for me.
Right.
I said, I'm going to do my own homework. I'm going to find out what's really true and what's not true. And I think, Christy, the only reason life insurance, now it's not a typical type of investment because there are the costs of life insurance. But what I found, most people need that life insurance death benefit anyway. So they're going to, they should be spending a small portion of their financial, planning money on a good, solid foundation, which is a death benefit to take care of their family or their loved ones. But the money above that amount isn't going to pay for any more life insurance. That's already covered. And I think if people see and run the numbers for themselves, they'll realize that for whatever reason life insurance has become a bad word in the financial realm. I think it's because the financial stockbrokers and other people out there, first, they don't understand it. If I have 100 CPAs in a room and they don't get it, I can tell you the average stockbroker doesn't get it. And they're also competing for clients' money, and they don't want to talk about something that they don't have to offer.
Patrick, in your first book entitled Tax-Free Retirement, there's actually a whole chapter talking about what you call an IRA rescue. Can you talk about that a minute?
You bet. And this really, Chris, would be a third type of strategy. So we have the life insurance strategy, the tax-free retirement strategy for those that are saving. We've got those that have already saved who, if they want to get their money out of the craziness of the market, still experience some growth with guaranteed no losses, we've got the index annuity. Now, this is a different type of strategy altogether. But what I found in my own working with clients over the years is many of them have money in an IRA. Let's say they're close to 70 years old or maybe even older, that is sitting there they really don't need to use to live on. Their living expenses are covered. So this money is just earmarked for a rainy day, or maybe it will be passed on, and in most cases will be passed on. What they don't realize, Christy, is the worst place for an individual to have money when they die is in an IRA or any tax-qualified plan. Because that tax-qualified plan, if it passes on to the heirs in a lump sum, it's going to be taxed as income in that current year, and in many cases at the very highest tax bracket. So Chapter 24 in my first book, The IRA Rescue, simply allows people to understand how they can use that money that, by the way, the government is telling them they have to take, whether they want it or not, because of these required minimum distributions, how they can still keep their IRA, but use that required minimum distributions to be able to purchase a life insurance policy that will pass on 2, 3, or maybe even 4 times tax-free to their heirs what they would pass on if they simply did nothing with their IRA and just left it there.
So that's where you really can look at building a legacy versus just passing on a little wealth.
Huge legacy. The question that really I like to ask clients that fit this category, Christy, is, what if there was a way that you could pass on 2 or 3 times, more than you're going to pass on right now, but still get to keep your current accounts? What would you think about that? And people are like, well, yeah, but it sounds too good to be true. But it's not.
Well, we really appreciate you being here with us this morning, Patrick. Again, Patrick is the best-selling author of Tax-Free Retirement. He's got another book. I think it's made it to the best-selling list also, The Retirement Miracle. If you would like a copy of Patrick's latest book, The Retirement Miracle, we will give you a copy free if you just call our office and schedule a complimentary visit to come in and sit and talk with either me or Matt. Our office is in Denham Springs. Our number is 791-5773. Again, we're giving away a copy of The Retirement Miracle by Patrick Kelly. Our office number is 791-5773. Give us a call to claim your copy. If you'd like to go on our website, learn more, we've got information about these strategies on our website, safemoneyplan.net. Again, that's safemoneyplan.net. Patrick, we want to just thank you so much for being here with us this morning. Always a pleasure to work with you.
Thank you. My pleasure as well.
We'll be back in a couple of minutes with more of Your Money Matters, brought to you by the Presley Group. And welcome back to Your Money Matters, brought to you by the Presley Group. I'm Christy Smith, joined with Toni Shinabery. We're excited to be here with you.
I am, very much.
Toni, I talk so much that I tend to hog the mic.
Oh,
Hope
that's
you don't
okay.
mind.
I don't mind cutting in.
We're excited to be here. We've had a great 3 segments this morning. We've had Patrick Kelly with us, and Patrick is the author of the best-selling book, Tax-Free Retirement. He's out with a new book right now, The Retirement Miracle. And, during the break, Toni, you were actually saying, golly, I've got to read these books because you have a daughter that you're worried about.
Oh, I am. My daughter and son-in-law who, they're at that acquisition age, double income, no kids, enormous opportunities to start building their wealth before, everything has to be paid for when they have a bunch of children. But, yes, these are some things I'd like to share with her and my nephews, my niece. right at that particular point in their age where it's a valuable information.
Well, the funny thing is that with Patrick's strategies, he really has strategies available to help everyone. People assume
He did.
People assume that his strategies are really only designed for those who are young and saving, but he's got great strategies for those of you who are already retired. You're taking money out of your IRA accounts because the government is forcing you to. He's got great strategies to help you maximize that withdrawal. He calls it an IRA rescue. If you come into the office to meet with either me or Matt, we're going to be happy to sit down and go over Patrick's concepts with you. We can run you some numbers so that you can get a general idea of what you're looking at. Many times I get asked this question, Toni, who can you help? And I laugh because we really have plans that can help everyone. I would say the only savings plan that we really can't help is college saving. If it's, indexed annuities are not appropriate for college savings for children. Right. And they're not appropriate for, your quick, ready, rainy day fund. But the reality is we've got strategies that are available to help all of you, whether you're young, working, maybe you have some pre-existing 401k accounts that you've never moved. We've actually got several of those this week. People come into the office who left their 401ks behind, didn't know what to do with it. And, we've got great strategies for you. In addition to that, how many of you took your money out of the market and put it in the bank because you were scared? You've missed out on the comeback,
yes, we do.
And you just don't know what to do with it. We have strategies that can help you because we specialize in safe money plans. Safe money plans. That's why our website is called safemoneyplan.net. Now listen, don't wait. Don't put it off. You're doing your taxes right now. I can't even believe when you're doing your taxes, it's like you're kind of getting your financial house in order because you're getting all the receipts together, you're getting everything together to prepare to have your taxes done.
Opening up those shoe boxes.
Yeah. Now's a perfect time. You've already gathered the information. Schedule a complimentary visit to come in and meet with either me or Matt. We'd love to sit down and talk to you. We'll give you a copy of Patrick Kelly's the Retirement Miracle book. We've got them in the office. You can take one or two with you and learn how you can change your financial future today. I mean, I'm a big follower of Dave Ramsey, and I love how Dave Ramsey says, let's get your financial house in order. And that's really what we're wanting to help you do. We're wanting to help you get your financial house in order, because if your financial house is in order, no matter what storm comes your way, you're not going to have to worry about your building falling down.
That is correct.
And that's what we can help you do. But we can only help if you pick up the phone and give us a call. Our office number is 791-5773. 791-5773. Andrea's in the office. She can take your call this morning and schedule your complimentary visit for next week. Thanks for being here with us this morning. We look forward to being here with you each weekend. We'll be back next week with more of Your Money Matters.